I'm Linda Moon, Director of Grow Kids Curriculum. Welcome to the series walkthrough for Joy Story, a 5-week series from the Gospels all about Christmas. We recommend the series for the month of December because, well, it's all about the birth of Jesus. And as such, these Bible stories align really well with our winter discipleship strategy, which is all about the spiritual habit of using your gifts. However, our scope and sequence takes your kids through every major Bible story in 3 years, so feel free to teach this series whenever you'd like. Maybe you want to do a little Christmas in July, who knows? But for now, let's take a closer look at what Joy's story is all about. In week 1, we'll look at the story in Luke chapter 1 about the angel Gabriel delivering the surprising but joyful news that Mary would carry God's own son. Kids will learn about how this promise comes after the silent years, and because of that, this news would be so big for all of God's people and the whole world. That's why this week's big idea is Jesus is the Savior God promised. In week 2, we'll go back a few verses in Luke chapter 1 to hear about John the Baptist's origin story. The angel's message for Zechariah and Elizabeth show that God's sending of Jesus was deliberately planned for that moment. Even a messenger was being prepared in advance, which supports this week's big idea. God sent Jesus at the perfect time. Then in week 3, we'll go further down in Luke chapter 1 when Elizabeth and Mary met up to share how God had big plans for both of them and their babies. Just as baby John inside Elizabeth's belly jumped for joy, kids can be excited at the news of Jesus because Jesus brings joy to the world. In week 4, we're in Luke chapter 2 now, and it's Christmas Sunday. Jesus is born. As kids learn about how angels delivered this good news to nearby shepherds and what this meant for all of humanity, we'll be reminded of this week's big idea. Jesus is God's greatest gift. Finally, in week 5, we'll switch over to Matthew chapter 2 to hear the story of how the Magi, or wise men, followed a star to meet Jesus. And just as they were compelled to worship the Savior, kids will learn that the same is true today as it was then. Everyone is invited to worship Jesus. And this month's memory verse, Luke chapter 1, verses 46 to 47, comes directly from Mary's song, telling of her own joy story upon hearing the message from the angel Gabriel. My soul glorifies the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in God my Savior. Now let's talk about the theme. We love themes. At Grow Kids, we love pairing an engaging theme with each teaching series and creating an environment around it to really bring the Bible stories to life. So the theme for this series is toys because we're talking about how the gift of Jesus brings us the greatest joy. So to start off, to decorate your space, you might want to consider a few options. So the easiest way might be to just lean heavily on all the usual Christmas decor with large inflatable nutcrackers, snowmen, nativity, candy canes, the works. And, don't forget to add a Christmas tree with gift wrap boxes underneath and all around. And for those of you who do enjoy the Toy Story franchise, because this series title is kind of a pun on that, you can work that in too. You can use cardboard cutouts of your favorite characters or just have a bunch of giant toys all around to make the whole room just kind of look like Andy or Bonnie's room from the movies. That would be really fun. Other fun ideas include checking out some supplemental craft activities that you could do with your kids on those days when your programming deviates from your usual schedule, which usually happens a lot during the holidays, right? So you can couple craft time with some cool crafts along with some fun snack time. Anything from a hot cocoa bar to food arranged in Christmas shapes. Again, this would be a good idea to bank for those extended programming hours or maybe a Christmas event you want to host for your ministry. We've even included some fun Christmas toys that you might want to give out because we usually do give out gifts during the holiday season anyway. Before you do anything, make sure you go and check out this resource that I'm showing you right now. It's called the Environment Guide. It's included with all of your teaching resources, and you can get even more ideas, fonts, and color schemes, Pinterest board links, and curated Spotify playlists for elementary and preschool, as well as information on how to access original music from growmusic.org. So, now that you have an overview of the series as well as a look into how to theme up your ministry space, let's talk about some of the exciting features of Joy Story. Now, if you've been using Grow for a while, then you know that our teaching is always broken up into three sections. We start off with the What section, which is how we hook kids with activities and questions that set up the Bible story and big idea. Then we move on to the second section, which is called the So What section. And this is where the bulk of the teaching happens, and we supplement it with activities, object lessons, videos, images, and another secondary passage that reinforces what they've been learning in the main Bible story and the big idea. And then we have the Now What section. The Now What section is a time where we help kids dive deeper into what it all means and what next steps they can take in their relationship with God. But within this consistent structure that stays the same every single time, there are different combination of building blocks being used to make each series unique and just more oriented towards what is being taught that week. So let's take a look at some of the things that are unique to Joy Story. First up, we have a story module. So the story building block is in the So What section usually, and this is when a person tells a personal or fictional story that helps kids understand the underlying concepts of the Bible story or big idea better. So in Joy Story, we're inviting leaders every week to share a little about their own joy stories with prompts about what kind of story to tell. So for example, we would ask things like share a personal story about a time you experienced so much joy because of Jesus. And in the case of week one, we're telling a personal story about how someone you know made a promise that wasn't kept. And we can tie it all into what we are talking about in the Bible story and the big idea for the week. But here is a fun little bonus specific to just this series. In addition to, or maybe in place of a personal story, depending on how you want to do the teaching, we've also included small clips from various Toy Story movies that we think also help illustrate elements from the teaching. So, whether you can't think of a story you want to share or you want to give kids more anecdotal examples, we've got you, and the story module is a really great way to bring it home for kids. A second element I want to point out for Joy Story is our response building block. So this lives in the Now What section, and the response building block is where kids usually get to write or draw independently or collaboratively, depending on how you want to do it. And this is a place where leaders can help kids formulate a practical action plan or develop some action steps based on what they learned through the Bible story and this week's big idea. So in Joy Story, every week kids will be given an ornament printable, and on it they can write or draw a response to various prompts given. Like the one we're showing here asks, what are some things that brought you joy this past week? In another week, we're going to ask questions like, what can you do to remind yourself that Jesus is God's greatest gift? And once they fill it all out and they decorate it to their heart's content, if you are able, we suggest that you put up a small Christmas tree in your space dedicated to this response building block, or you can just make one out of paper and put it up on the wall. If you're in a mobile space, put it in a poster that you can roll up and put up every week. And this is a place where kids can hang up their ornaments and they can kind of see how everyone's ornaments look different and how everyone responded differently to the prompts that are given. This is a really valuable time, so don't skip on this one. And as most of you know, we also have a separate preschool track in Grow Kids, and a lot of the content is adapted from the elementary content, so there is a little bit of continuity between the two. And so preschoolers will be also doing a similar thing to the ornament response activity, except for preschoolers, they're going to get this really age-appropriate printable where they get to decorate it in different modalities every week. One week they might be using stickers or glitter. Another time they're using yarn or tissue paper. And at the end of the series, they'll just end up with all of these really cool ornaments that are emblematic of the big ideas and Bible stories. And it doesn't require you to buy a bunch of materials, especially during a season where you are probably spending a lot to put together winter activities. And remember, if you need more craft and snack ideas for this age group, please check out that environment guide I mentioned earlier. earlier, and also the Pinterest board for even more ideas. And there you have it. That was a quick look at Joy Story. As always, we are always so encouraged by all the kingdom work you are doing, seen and unseen, and you all do the most. And as you approach the end of the year, we just hope that you find time to rest and recover before you gear up for the new year. Remember to reach out and share your experience with the series through posts or photos on Instagram at Stuff You Can Use, or find us on Facebook through our Facebook group, Stuff You Can Use, a children's ministry community. Okay, friends, until next time, bye and Merry Christmas!